Hemoglobin by Daniel Ehlert. First, we'll start out with a background on proteins. A lot of people think proteins is just something you eat, when in fact proteins are some of the most important molecules regarding to life. They have multiple functions. They can be anything from communication, cell-to-cell communication, intracellular cellular communication, structural support, so your fingernails and hair, um, even transporting oxygen throughout your body. There's four levels of organization, as you can see in the picture here. You start out with your primary structure, which is just a strand of amino acids sequenced from your DNA in your nucleus. The strand of amino acids is then either folded into a beta pleated sheet, as you see on the left, or it is twisted into a alpha helix, as you see on the right. These structures then combined to form the tertiary structure. This tertiary structure can be a functional protein by itself. Some proteins actually that's all they have. They have a tertiary structure and that's it. But there is one more structure, that level of organization in a protein. It's when multiple tertiary structures come together to form a quaternary structure. When the tertiaries come together, they lose the name tertiary and are called subunits. And a lot of proteins, including hemoglobin, is a multi-subunit protein. They are also vital for life. Now let's get into hemoglobin's function. I'm sure everybody knows what a red blood cell is. Hemoglobin is the protein that makes all this possible. It carries available oxygen from the lungs throughout the body. Another thing that it does and is vital for life is it picks up leftover CO2 from cellular respiration, carries it back through the body and through the heart and back into the lungs. We're going on the next slide to discuss a little bit further on how it works and the overall shape of the hemoglobin molecule protein. All right, let's talk a little bit about hemoglobin structure and also how it functions and how everything relates. It has a quaternary structure, so as we talked about on the last slide, it has the most complex stage of organization for a protein. It's made up of 4 separate subunits, 2 alpha globin chains and 2 beta globin chains. Now, one of the most vital parts of the entire protein are the heme groups, circled in red. The heme group is actually what is responsible for carrying oxygen and removing CO2 from the body. Each heme group is a nitrogen ring with a positive iron ion right in the middle. The free oxygen then binds to the iron ion. One unique feature of this heme group is the way the histine groups are aligned. The histine group actually prevents iron from becoming oxidized and becoming overbonding, and thus useless as far as the transportation of oxygen. Another thing this histine group does is it prevents free carbon monoxide from bonding with the iron and being a competitor to oxygen to bind into. Another unique feature of this heme group and the whole protein as a whole is it's a dynamic structure, meaning when one heme group bonds to a oxygen, it folds up, but it also starts to expose the next one, and it's just a chain reaction from one to the next. So as soon as one picks up an oxygen, it frees up space for the other. Let's go into a few genetic disorders associated with hemoglobin. The most widely known one, and one that's talked about a lot in news and media and other stuff, is sickle cell anemia. It's really prevalent in Africa. Some of the problems with sickle cell is it causes vaso-occlusive crisis, splenic sequestration, acute chest syndrome, aplastic crisis, hemolytic crisis, and hemolytic crisis. Another interesting genetic disorder was hemoglobin, and I'm going to butcher the word, is methylglobinemia. What that is when you have much higher levels than normal of hemoglobin in your body. That leads you to look like this gentleman here on the right with blue skin. One more genetic disorder associated with hemoglobin is thalassemia. It's when you have too much iron in your blood cells. As you can see, the difference between a healthy blood cell and one with thalassemia. It can lead to infections, bone deformities, an enlarged spleen, and slowed growth rates. And that concludes the presentation over hemoglobin.